So I'm currently dating, and I'm not dating just for frivolous fun. I'm dating because I'm actually looking for someone to marry and to be with permanently for the rest of my life. So I've noticed a phenomenon. I came up with a really clever term recently, and I wanted to kind of explain what I mean. Sugar-coated armistice. And obviously sugar-coated doesn't need any explanation. Armistice, we all know what that is, but I wrote down an actual definition to sort of zero in on it. And the definition is that it's a temporary suspension of hostilities mutually agreed upon by the two warring parties, and it's a conscious choice for a temporary ceasefire. It's not the resolution, it's not a peace treaty, it's not a permanent thing. It's just a temporary ceasefire, temporary armistice to the aggressions agreed upon by both parties. So they're both complicit in this agreement. Now in war, you know, any stopping any hostilities, great. But what I'm discussing is relationships. Two people having what I would term a sugar-coated armistice in place. So again, I'm dating, and I noticed a few things. So I meet a guy who tells me he's a non-smoker. I'm definitely looking for someone who's not a smoker. And great, you know, lots of other things are going great. We're sort of hitting it off, very much hitting it off. And, you know, there's chemistry, there's good conversation, it's no awkward moments. Things are going great. And then in one of the conversations, he says, well, once in a while he smokes when he drinks. And I'm like, I thought you said you were a non-smoker. Well, it's just, you know, maybe a couple times a month if I'm drinking. But that's weird because I don't crave cigarettes if I have a drink. I don't expect anyone who's a non-smoker to not crave a cigarette when they're drinking. It just doesn't make sense. So you're a closet smoker, you're a trying to quit smoker, you're a in denial smoker, you're repressed. Something in you really craves a cigarette when you're drinking and your guard is down. But maybe the rest of the time you're able to kind of keep yourself in check and you're a non-smoker, so you consider yourself a non-smoker. And 1 or 2 cigarettes a month consistently when you're drinking, in your eyes, as a non-smoker. That's a huge red flag to me. You know, I'm like, well, that doesn't jive. He is thinking, why are you making a big deal of this, right? So at that point, I'm much less impressed, and I'm basically no longer interested, because that one thing is an indication of him not embracing reality and him not embracing truth and him sugarcoating it to himself, first of all. But I see this with couples all the time. You know, I see couples who are, they have issues with each other and they don't bring them up. Or they meet and things are great and you're just, you know, just starting this relationship, you're just getting to know each other, you're having so much fun. The last thing you want to do is bring up red flags that pop up. You figure, well, you know, I don't want to ruin the mood. It's only the second date. You know, I don't need to be grilling this person. We're not getting married tomorrow. I'm going to seem too, you know, too serious, too... I'm not his mommy, you know what I mean? But what's the point? If the point is you were looking for a serious relationship, then everything, every next date you have with them, every next phone call you take, it indicates you are interested in taking it further and further. So if you don't stop and address those things that are the red flags that pop up, then that means you're okay with them. That gives that person implicit permission. It's implied consent. And it creates, you know, maybe they also, there's things that they don't want to bring up with you because they're not, maybe they don't feel comfortable yet, same reasons, whatever their reasons are. And you both end up in this sugar-coated armistice. Because it's not like you had hostility and aggression ahead of time, but little things pop up in your head that you may not like, right? And you think, well, you know, in the big scheme of things, it's not a big deal, whatever. If you really analyzed it, and if you talk to somebody like me, I would say, that little thing is a red flag for something bigger, you know? Like I said, with this couple of cigarettes a month guy, that's an indication that not only the cigarette part, it's an overall indication of a mental non-awareness, I should say, that, you know, you're not acknowledging reality. You are a smoker. You might not be a 1-pack-a-day smoker. You might be a 1-pack-a-month smoker. You may not buy any packs at all and you bum a cigarette every weekend or two, but you have a consistent habit of smoking when you're drinking, so therefore you're a sort of a smoker. You are a smoker, you're just a light smoker or whatever. So not acknowledging reality is an indication of other things you're not acknowledging reality in either. What if there's things that bother you about me that you're not telling me? And I think in your eyes, I'm, you know, who you want. Say then we get married and then you drop these bombs on me like, I don't like this, I don't like that. No, please drop all the bombs and question me in any way you want before you continue to make further and further commitments. If I'm dating you and I am agreeing to make time for you and I'm agreeing to make time for you, really, because I could be working, I could be sleeping, I could be doing anything else that's for me. If I'm thinking this is great and you have these things in the back of your mind you're brushing under the rug, don't blindside me once we're engaged. You know, have the respect for me to bring them up and expect that I will have the same respect for you. That if there are things that you know, are red flags in my brain, if there's any sort of little uncomfortable feelings in my brain that come up, you want me to say something. Because if we're not right for each other, then I want to let you go. You want to let me go so we can find those right people for each other. We're just wasting each other's time. Life is short, and you spend a year with someone and then you think, oh, you know, it was so great in the beginning when all those chemical brain juices were going and all this attraction, dopamine and serotonin was just flooding our brains, and the attachment feelings were so amazing that those red flags were so minor I barely even noticed them. But you did notice them. You made a conscious effort. It might have been easy, but you made a conscious decision not to bring them up, and you both sugar-coated armistice all the way to the, you know, engagement party, and next thing you know, you're on your way to marriage. There's a lot more invested and a lot more harm that you're bringing to everyone, including yourselves. You've wasted time, you've wasted money, you've involved families, you've just done so much more damage, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to break this up. We're too far gone, too far invested. You know, we'll figure it out. We'll fix it. You know, all you need is love. No, love is not all you need. You need honesty. You need reality. More than love. Because if you have honesty and you have reality, you have those virtues that will make you love that person more. That will grow the love. That's what cultivates love. Love, those first 6 months to a year of, oh, you know, amazing love juices flowing biochemically in your brain, that is not true love. I mean, it feels like it, but once the biochemical fireworks die down, what's left? That's true love. That's when you find out whether you really like that person. So this sugar-coated armistice is you both mutually agree not to discuss things, you know? If I just let him go with, yeah, just a couple times a month, you know, what is that gonna hurt? You know, I never smell it, I never really taste it, I don't even see it, he doesn't even spend money on it, on cigarettes. Well, then we both agree to have a sort of a sugar-coated armistice and not discuss it. When it's really important, it needs to be discussed. What else are you sugarcoating or sort of in denial about if you're in denial with the fact that you're a smoker? I want you to treat me equally, and I want to be able to expect the same, that you would expect the same from me treating you equally. That means any red flags we bring up. Maybe that's something you don't even notice, you know? Maybe I say something and you're like, well, you know, that's kind of contradictory to what you said before, and you point it out to me and I'm like, you know, you're right. I mean, the point of a relationship is that you both help each other grow. You don't complete each other. You need to be complete, or fairly complete individuals coming into the relationship. You're not supposed to be 50-50 and then you make each other 100%. You are each supposed to be pretty much 100%. No one's perfect, no one's fully enlightened, but you're supposed to be whole, and the other person is supposed to be whole. And then when you get together, you make something that is greater. The whole that you make together is greater than the sum of its parts, which is made up of the individual two people. You're supposed to call each other out on things. You're supposed to point things out that are inconsistent. You're supposed to help each other grow and become better individuals. You're supposed to help each other step your game up, basically. You know, by the time you're married, it's too late. By the time you're engaged, it's not too late, but it's the chains that bind us at that point are so much greater. What if you have a kid? What if it's 3, 4, 5 years later and you have a kid, and then you realize this person is completely not who I imagined in my sugar-coated brain to be in the beginning, and now you're trapped, or you feel trapped, or there's so much more at stake. Now there's lawyers and family court and a child possibly involved who you're going to traumatize by your divorce, or you're fighting. If you don't get divorced, and you just keep on fighting. I mean, it is so dangerous and so irresponsible to overlook those serious or even tiny red flags in the beginning. And everyone's always saying, oh, you know, don't get too serious initially, you know, just have fun, just have fun. That's what society tells you, right? Your friends, your family might be like, oh, don't make a big deal out of it. You know, it's just the first date, you know, see, you know, basically they want you to chemically attach to each other, you know, have those brain juices flowing and attach to each other, and then deal with the hard parts. By the time you've had sex, by the time you have thoroughly attached, and you're dating and you're in a serious relationship, and then you start bringing those things up, two things are happening. Your brain juices are dying down, things are calming down as far as the natural, you know, chemical attraction and that heightened state of initial, you know, newness and novelty and love, or whatever you want to call it. That's dying down, so things are sort of getting a little bit more mundane and less fun, and then you're having to have these conversations. That's a double whammy that a lot of people don't last through. Best thing is to have fun, of course, but be mature enough to discuss the red flags when they come up. I don't care if it's the first date. I don't care if it's in the middle of this most amazing fun thing you're doing and then something comes up. Address it. Or maybe not right that moment, but address it right after, you know? Have a conversation about it right after the event. And it will actually help keep those brain chemicals in check, so that you don't just completely, you know, like a drug, like a high person high on drugs, just fall into each other's arms and have sex and accidentally get pregnant or whatever, or regret something. You sort of put little pauses throughout by discussing things that are serious, by discussing things that are not just like, oh, you know, all those things that we're used to on those couple of first dates and that in the beginning of stages of any sort of relationship. So, I mean, I think sugar-coated armistice is where we all live. And it could be with your parents, with your family, you know, you don't mention that, you know, you don't go there. We sort of agree to both not go there. We all really practice that a lot. Or, you know, I don't anymore, but we've all been trained to. Society trains us. Don't rock the boat. Don't mention this. Don't mention that. Don't go there. And so then we don't do any real evaluating when we meet someone. And we brush little things under the rug. And then a couple years later, there's a body under that rug. And it's made up of a bunch of little things, but it's so big now, it feels like a body. And you feel stupid almost bringing up each one of those little things and dissecting it, because now the person's like, what are you talking about? That's tiny, that's minor, whatever. But it's not just the one thing. It's the whole body of things that have built up under that rug because of your sugar-coated armistice. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up and put my thoughts down. Hope it's helpful.